Welcome back, or welcome to the first episode of Building the Pride, a Detroit Lions podcast. I, for the first time, am your host, Drew, joined always by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, Drew. Excited for the new branding of Building the Pride. I like it.
Yeah. Mike is stretching his creative skills on the computer, figuring out how to create the logo, figuring out how to present the logo. This is, and to everybody who watches this, our logo is our mascot, Brad Gnomes. So not only is he there in the background carrying the flag, he is now officially our logo on the site. So he's got his Detroit Lions cat hat with a ball on it. Yeah. Trying to get the football to look like a football using Chat GPT was more challenging than one would imagine.
Yeah.
And the only other thing that the Chat GPT did when trying to create this image was it kept screwing up his hands.
Oh yeah, he looked like three giant fingered.
It was like you cut his hand off and they put a puzzle piece at the end of his wrist. It was the weirdest looking things.
Yeah.
But we refined the process, and I think we've got a pretty good representation of Brad Gnomes, wearing Aiden Hutchinson's jersey. So,
ironically, I didn't even ask for that. So,
I just knew. That's why it was
familiar. Yeah. So if you're familiar with like AI generated art, actually this wasn't ChatGPT. This was through actually a special like Discord server tool. And you just say like
AI is ChatGPT. Accept it.
OpenAI really wants you to think that too.
Yes, they do.
And so does anybody that invests in Microsoft.
Right.
But yeah, so it was just like, you put in a command of like imagine, and then you fill in what you want and it just creates stuff for you. So like imagine an African-American gnome wearing a Detroit Lions jersey and a silver hat, carrying that kind of stuff. And then many iterations later, we actually got it, and it was 97. I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. I was hoping for like a 20 for Barry Sanders or 81 for Calvin, but Hutch, he's currently one of the top couple players on the team. So pretty excited how that all turned out.
I love his beard. So
yes,
his beard is truly top notch.
Yeah.
So, yep. So we are rebranding. So we are back to episode 1. We will figure this out in the future.
A new hope.
Yeah, exactly. So we got to have the Star Wars reference on there. Otherwise, it's just not as fun.
Yeah, you're not trying hard enough.
Right. Exactly. Oh, Mark's in the chat. Hello. Welcome, Mark.
Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah, first time.
Yeah.
Started out with 77 subscribers. We've lost one.
Yeah.
Our wayward subscriber.
And now we're at 77.
Lost in the woods, doesn't know where to get their information.
Yeah.
So if you know anybody,
what's this Building the Pride thing? I subscribe to Casual GM Podcast.
Yeah,
I'm confused.
There are, of course, loyalists, so hard to fault them for that. But we digress.
So what's going on in the land of the Detroit Lions as we're preparing for training camps and all of that stuff?
I'll change the name of the show. Don is. You can't get anything by him. The dude is just too.
Yeah, he's on top of
it. Too quick. So, we did change the name of the show. We got some feedback from our subscribers, people in chat, who were like, "Hey, your podcast is not representative of what you're talking about," and they were right. So, Mike and I discussed it. Procrastinated a lot, and then eventually got to a point where we were like, let's just have AI do it for us, and this is the result. So kind of a soft rebranding, as it were.
Hey, ChatGPT, give me a potential name of a podcast for a couple guys talking about building the team for the Detroit Lions, and it said, hey, how about Building the Pride, a Detroit Lions podcast? So I'm like,
first try.
Brilliant. Yeah. First try. Oh yeah, first try. It was great.
First try.
But that's good. I like it. And hopefully it'll help us be found a little bit more in YouTube's algorithms when people are looking for the Detroit Lions, OnePride, all of that kind of stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to get more action.
Hang on a second, Mike. We have breaking news.
We have breaking news. Oh, okay. What is it?
Ian Rappaport and Daniel Jeremiah are reporting that Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert has agreed to a 5-year, $262.5 million deal, which I might add is nowhere close to the top of the market, I believe. When it comes to
$52.5 million a year.
52.5 a year.
52.5
what
a
did
year. AAV.
What did
Aaron Rodgers is the highest
for?
right now at 50.
Yeah, what is Hurts? Jalen Hurts was 255. Okay. So
he reset the market.
Lamar Jackson was 260 for 52 a year. Hurts is 255 for 51 a year. And you're saying that this is
262 is over 260. So it's 52.5.
Is it 260? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's now the highest paid quarterback in sports.
Yep.
So here you go. The Chargers were smart. They
beat
the Bengals to the
Burrow.
Yeah, they beat the Bengals to the negotiating table on this one, right?
Yep.
So not that matters much in the grand scheme of things, but like now the Bengals are probably going to pay Joe Burrow $1 or $2 million more a year than Justin Herbert, right? Okay.
Yep. And as we talked about last week, when it comes to Goff extension, where does he fall in that? He's at 30 million right now. He's probably going to want 40 or 45, probably closer to 45 now, right?
Well, I just mean when it comes to any quarterback in the NFL, the higher that ceiling goes, the closer to that ceiling you're going to be. It's going to drag the average up, right? So, I mean, and we have Burrow to go. Trevor Lawrence is a year behind that, right? He's going into year 3, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, I've heard that Patrick Mahomes might redo his deal.
I mean, his was a 10-year deal.
Yes, but he has a stipulation in it. What?
I don't think you can restructure a deal or do any kind of. Well, you can't do an extension until you are 5 years into it or 2 years left or something like that. There's some sort of limitation.
I know that his deal is structured in one of the most unique ways that any deal has ever been created in the NFL.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a 10-year contract, but like a series, which he is, of course, like multiple years into at this point, but like a series of 1-year contracts that the next year kicks off on like the start of the new league year every year.
Interesting.
So it's more, so I don't know if it's one 10-year deal that maybe holds up to the criteria that you just stated, or it's a loosely bound series of 1-year deals that allows for a window of renegotiation. So,
yeah, I'd be curious to see what that looks like. Although Funky is right, it's not who's best, it's who's next.
That's true. That is largely the way that it works. So, I mean,
what do you think on Don's offered Goff 32 per and say take it or leave it?
Well, I don't know that they're going to offer. I mean, like, we have heard that, there's the possibility of contract extensions now for over a year with Jared Goff. And like, what I will say is there's been nothing to indicate that the normal process for initiating contract talks, sitting down at the table and negotiating has been reported on for him and the Detroit Lions. I continue to, I guess, want to believe that Detroit is going to play him out on this year of his deal, meaning that he would have one additional year, 2024. Yeah. on his deal, and you would be able to cut him and save $25 million and take a $5 million cap hit after this upcoming season. But like, I just don't, I mean, I think that the Lions are in a similar situation what the Vikings are in. You have a guy, he's on your books for more than you want to be paying him. What do you do? Like what Brad Holmes said is very true. Like, it's easier to get worse at quarterback.
Yep.
But it's also but that's also the way you get better at it too. I mean, like, you don't just hope that the guy you know who he is just going to magically get better. Like, I think that the version of Jared Goff that we saw last year is his best version.
Yeah.
And
yeah, all the stars aligned.
Right. So I think that if you get what he was last year, this upcoming year, you count that as a W. And if you can get that for $30 or $31 million, you take it and say thank you. But I don't think you sign up for more.
Yeah.
Let go, we go.
So
I mean, like,
other Detroit news.
sure.
CJ Gardner-Johnson gave us a scare.
Yeah.
Supposed to be the linchpin to our defensive backfield, kind of like restructure, rebuild, and he got carted off. Although it sounds like MRIs or X-rays just showed a little bit of little bit of soreness, but he should be fine. No structural or surgery or anything like that.
So according to the beat reporters that are at practice when that happened, things were pointed in the wrong direction. So him avoiding major surgery feels like a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Now, we're not 100% on exactly what it's going to look like for him, but I don't know that I take a risk with it at this point.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, let's just heal you up. Like, I mean, there's no reason to risk him for any reason heading into the season. Like, maybe you want to play in a couple of series just to make sure all the stuff you're talking about on paper works its way onto the field and you kind of get that, like, that gelling with the rest of the unit started. But there's no reason to play more than a couple of series a game in the preseason with him. There's no reason to have him back out working out until his knee is 100% cleared. Doesn't matter. So I like Brandon Joseph. He's slow, but like the take on Brandon Joseph, like when he was at Northwestern and then transferred to Notre Dame, is that the guy is like a genius level player on the field. Like, he's
high IQ.
He, like, the highest. Like, he is like the terms that I was hearing was he doesn't have a high IQ. He is genius level IQ when he is on the field. And like, from playing sports poorly my whole life, I can tell you that having a guy out there that can like get you set up, make sure you're in the right position, and if you know what they're gonna do before you do it, like, that is exceedingly helpful. That's kind of like the Luke Kuechly type of player. Now, he's not Luke Kuechly. Let's be real. But like, Luke Kuechly was also a genius. Yeah. So he just also had the athletic talent to back up everything that his brain was telling him to do. So I think Brandon Joseph is most likely a special teamer. But if he got out there and if his job was, they're running this play. Hey, Hutch, look for this. Hey, Rodrigo, get over there. Hey, Campbell, this. That's the guy that you want with the green dot.
Yeah.
So, and Branch was talked about as being a mid first round talent. So like, he ended up slipping to the third round?
No,
second round. He was our third.
He was our third pick.
Third pick. No, fourth pick. Gibbs, Campbell.
When did we get Hooker?
Laporta.
Did we get Hooker in the second round or third round?
Hooker was third. So Branch must have been second, but he was our fourth pick.
Right, because we took Laporta before him.
Right. So, the thing I think about Joseph is that if he was out there Yeah, Funky's got our back. If he was out there, he would be picked on immediately. But like, I think that he would think his way into a good position on most plays. And I like Branch, but yeah, he's a rookie. Like you want at this point with the Lions roster, put a vet out there, let the rookies develop a little bit of experience, let the game slow down for them. Otherwise you risk the, oops a daisy, I took a step in the wrong direction, and that's a 75-yard touchdown pass. So
yeah.
But
and thinking things at such a high level gives you such an advantage. On the hockey side, think of like Larry Murphy. Like he was a phenomenal defenseman, but I think I might have been faster than him. The guy was a floating pylon, and but he was just ahead of you. Like he just knew where you're going to go, so he's going to start early, and then he would get there. If it came down to just pure athleticism, he would not have made it. I don't know, 1,500 games in the Hall of Fame types of careers. So sometimes you just have to have that brain be the best muscle in your body, right? And have everything else go, all right, well, at least I'm ahead of you, right? I might not get there as quick, but I'm going to get there at the right time because I'm thinking ahead.
Yeah, so like I think there's a place in the NFL for guys like Brandon Joseph who are super intelligent and understand what's going on in the game. But like this is why teams care about like athletic ability, RAS scores, the upside of a player if you can get him, because the ceiling's just higher.
Yeah.
And like he might be a nice player, but like he's not going to take Kirby Joseph's job.
Yeah.
So
well, we also picked up a kicker, right? And then dropped a kicker, right? We swapped Riley Patterson, brought in Riley Patterson, dropped out Michael Badgley. We still have 2 kickers on the squad. I forget the other guy's name, actually, to be honest. He was undrafted, picked him up off the waiver wire kind of guy. But I don't anticipate us keeping 2 to start the season. I would assume that Riley Patterson is going to be the guy, and the other guy is just going to try to see if he can find something somewhere else. I just don't see him beating Patterson.
Well, he did last year.
Who did? Parker Romo?
No,
Badgley's gone. Parker Romo is the guy that we've got right now.
Yeah, I understand that. But like this is the carousel that for last season and this season, the Lions appear to be on with their kickers, which was you had Badgley and Patterson in camp, and they had a kicking competition, and Badgley won.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go through the year. Badgley was not a bad kicker. Was he Jason Hansen, Matt Prater levels of kicking? No.
20 for 24, perfect 33 of 33 on extra points. That's not bad.
No, it was not bad.
Yeah.
Like the complaint about Badgley was his range. Okay. Like the range of a kicker matters. It gives you more opportunities. Yeah. That is true. Watching the Detroit Lions offense last year, I wasn't like, boy, they're sure getting to the 46 a lot.
Right.
If only we had a kicker that could make a 63-yard field goal, like I don't care about that. They were in the red zone between the 20 and the 30. Badgley was serviceable and cheap. Now, here's my problem. They traded with the Jacksonville Jaguars for Patterson. Did they give up virtually nothing? Yes, they gave up virtually nothing. But they gave up something for a kicker that they had in camp last year who lost to the guy they had on the roster. What's changed? I don't know. And if you really wanted to improve your kicking game and end this nonsense, go sign Robbie Gould. Robbie Gould is a free agent.
See that?
Go sign Robbie Gould and say, hey, Robbie, we'll give you 2.5 over, a year for 2 years. You get to keep playing in the NFL. You want to come kick for the Detroit Lions? We might make the playoffs this year. Okay, maybe. Maybe they did that already and said, no, I don't know. But
Patterson,
Robbie
was slouched last year, though. He was 30 for 35.
Riley Patterson was 30 for 35?
Yeah.
Why did Jacksonville trade him?
I don't know who they ended up. I don't know who they've got.
Right.
Were they the ones? They weren't the ones that drafted the Michigan kicker, were they?
No, that was the Niners.
That's right.
That's why Robbie Gould is the Niners.
That's true. So speaking real quick, as a quick aside, and then we'll get back to football. Speaking of Michigan, U of M football, what's up with Harbaugh? I saw he's going to be suspended for a few games.
So the Big Ten has gone to a 3-game non-conference schedule and added one more in-conference game. But that conference game that he's suspended for is Rutgers. So here's the situation. In like 2020 or 2021, Jim Harbaugh was at a team event, and then after the team event, something happened where they went out to get something to eat, and the recruits that they had with them didn't have any money because they're 17 or 18 years old, and he bought them food. He bought them cheeseburgers. That's a recruiting violation.
Scoundrel.
He and some of Michigan's coaching staff, watched workouts over a Zoom call, which is apparently another NCAA violation. That's it. He bought some kids food, and they watched some kids work out on Zoom. That for recruiting reasons.
Yeah,
and that's earned him a 4-game suspension. Now, the NCAA also just wrapped up a 3-year investigation of Tennessee and found something like over 100 recruiting violations. No one's getting suspended.
Wow.
They just fined the university and made them vacate wins. Now, I don't know what people think about vacating wins as a punishment, but I think that not having your head coach on the football field for 4 games is a relevant fact to your future.
That's interesting. So did Tennessee come? I mean, I guess one of the big problems with Harbaugh, I read one article, but I didn't know any of the background on it. He had apparently lied about what he admitted to one of the violations, like, oh, I didn't know it was a thing, but yeah, that's what I did. And then he didn't admit to the other one.
Sure.
Or something along those lines. Is it potentially because he wasn't truthful originally on whatever it was that he came back on? Is that why they're coming down harder?
Maybe.
And Tennessee went, yeah, we totally fucked up. Like, all 100 on us. Like, was it one of those deals?
It easily could be. And to be honest, now I'm outside my ability to intelligently speak about it. Here's the thing.
Me too.
As a Michigan fan.
I was that way from the start.
Yeah. It's hard for me to talk about this without bias because clearly I am a Michigan guy. But much like the suspensions in the NFL for gambling, J-Mo gets a 6-game suspension. Jordan Addison, rookie wide receiver for the Vikings, just got clocked at 140 at 3:00 in the morning, taking his dog to the vet because there was an emergency, and they pulled him over for being 90 over the speed limit or whatever. So I think those are disproportionate things.
Yeah.
Or someone hits their girlfriend, or has a gun in their car, or does drugs, or takes PEDs, or whatever. J-Mo's suspension is greater than almost every other thing that I just said, assuming a first-time offense, right?
Yeah.
And I have said publicly, that doesn't matter. The NFL views the thing that he did as worse for their product. So they're going to enforce that to a greater extent. End of discussion. With the Harbaugh thing, I don't understand the difference. I don't understand where the difference is. Yeah. So the thing that Tennessee has been punished for was basically paying kids under the table. Okay, now we have NIL. Now it's above the table, but it's the same thing. You're paying pay for play. A lot of people would say that's a better system. What I would say is that when Tennessee got in trouble for it, it was illegal. Much like when Reggie Bush did his recruiting.
I was just going to say, everybody
it was illegal.
You should give Reggie his Heisman back.
Right. If you change a law
now.
Right. If you change a law and it was this no longer is considered to be murder, you don't let murderers out of prison. Because when they did it, it was illegal. And Reggie Bush is never going to get his Heisman back. I don't understand why the thing that Tennessee did is less egregious than what Jim Harbaugh did. And I'm trying to be unbiased about it, but the thing that I know is that people seem to hate Jim Harbaugh for whatever reason. I don't know. He's arrogant. The sin that I think that he commits is the same thing that like the New England Patriots did for 20 years, is that they are successful.
Win.
Yeah. Jim Harbaugh
I didn't like Harbaugh
successful
when he was with the Niners or anywhere else either.
Yeah. Jim Harbaugh is successful everywhere he's ever been as a coach. San Diego State, Stanford, San Francisco 49ers, Michigan Wolverines. So is he consistently and immediately successful? No. Does he get those programs to be better than they were? Yes to all. So people can't.
Can he win the big one? Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, but like if you're not Georgia or Alabama in the last 15 years in the college football,
neither did you.
People are winning. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I guess Ohio State won one or two.
One. They won one.
Yeah.
And they lord it over.
I dislike them more than I dislike Harbaugh. So
yes. So like that is the thing, is that there's usually someone that everybody else hates more. The difference in these two things for me is I understand how the NFL as the organizing body views the difference in these offenses. The problem, and I think the lack of the respect the NCAA earns, is that there doesn't seem to be a methodology for how they assign punishment.
Yeah.
So he does usually leave scorched earth. Like he had a power struggle with Trent Baalke in San Francisco that he lost. When he left, I don't remember the circumstances surrounding San Diego State, but then their coach was Brady Hoke, I think, after Harbaugh left, and then he came to Michigan after when Harbaugh went to the 49ers. And then I think Harbaugh followed up Hoke after that because they were coming off a Super Bowl loss and he lost. I can't imagine losing a power struggle to Trent fucking Baalke. I mean, like, the dude is one of the worst GMs in football, but owners just must. Didn't work. Hired Urban Meyer, drafted Trayvon Washington. What's the guy's name that won over Hutch? Trayvon Walker. Yeah. Come on. What? You know, and the rumor leading up to the draft, Hutch's draft, was Baalke is not going to draft a Harbaugh guy.
Yeah.
If that's your reason for not drafting the dude, you should be fired. Your owner should fire you. So, but yeah, Mike, let's get back to the line.
Yeah, back to the NFL side. One other quick thing on the Lions, we traded for a wide receiver, Mims. He was with, remind me, the Jets, Jets. Jets. Speaking of the Jets, they're going to be on Hard Knocks, but
yes, they will
drive people away from that.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. I think it'll give us potentially another weapon, or at least some depth in the wide receiver room. So I mean, nothing splashy, but
I love this kind of trade.
Yeah.
The Lions give up a 6th rounder 2 years from now for a 7th rounder 2 years from now. And by the time that trade happens, Mims might not even be on the team anymore.
Yeah.
You don't know. Or he could be like a pillar of the wide receiver core.
Yeah.
So here's why I like it. The compensation was nothing. This is all upside.
Yeah.
Now,
it was a 7th rounder 2 years from now, right?
Yes. And we get a 6th rounder back. So the compensation for Denzel Mims is the difference between a 6th and 7th rounder in 2 years. That's fine.
And we potentially get value in between.
Correct. You know, you want your payoff right up front. So,
well, typically the value of a draft pick the next year is kind of the equivalent of the round after, like the next round of this year. So this year's 3rd round is kind of like next year's 2nd round, or next year's 2nd round is like this, right? So if we're talking 7th round 2 years from now, that's like this year's 9th round that doesn't even exist, right?
Technically, if you want to get fun with it, there are technically 8 rounds in the NFL draft if you work in all the compensation.
That's true.
So, yeah. Yeah. So a pick swap if he makes the roster. So here's the upside to this player. He is big. 6'3" is legit size in the NFL, and it's something that the Lions receiving core lacks.
Yep.
He's fast. They like speed. We know that this front office likes speed. Hard to argue with it. You know, JMO's fast, St. Brown's quick, Mims is fast, Gibbs is fast. For his position, Laporta is fast. You know, so like they want speed on offense. Hard to argue with it.
Yep.
For whatever reason, he didn't work out in New York. I get it. I hate the Jets. And the reason why I hate the Jets
Might be because their quarterback sucked.
Well, their quarterback has been bad, and I think that no matter what, he's getting an upgrade at the quarterback spot, having not played with Aaron Rodgers.
Although I'll say, in fairness, he's going from what is currently Aaron Rodgers to
currently the best quarterback the Jets have had since Namath. You know, like 50 years. But like, you know, Jared Goff is better than the kid from BYU that they had
playing Wilson.
I cannot remember anything anymore. This summer has wrecked my memory of what's going on. But like, I think here's the thing I think that's going to make him successful. If Ben Johnson can figure out what he does well inside the confines of this offense, Denzel Mims is going to have the most successful career he's had in the NFL.
Yep.
Here's why I don't like it. Number one, Lions media makes this guy seem like the second coming of Jesus Christ. Okay. Sorry, I don't think that. Second, he's a contract year. So if he has a good year, I think that you're going to pay more to keep him. But what I would also say is he's going into his third year in the NFL. Hey, Brian.
What's up, Brian?
So if you can get him for less than $10 million a year, I think it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
You know, so like the upside is quite high. These are the kinds of, you know, risk a little to potentially get a lot on a young player who just might have been in the wrong scenario.
Yep.
Maybe it's fantastic. So that's my hope.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, but like on paper, this is everything that I like about a guy. My only question is, why didn't it work out in New York? Yeah. So like the Detroit Lions and the Jets changed their front office, their coaching structures around the same time within a year of one another. So what makes the Lions think that he is quote unquote their guy when the Jets front office doesn't think that about them? That's my question.
Be a situation thing.
Maybe. My God, Dr. Detroit is literally dropping. What is this? Is this Disney? Once you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. I mean, that is deep. I mean, we are digging deep on that one. I'm impressed.
The other news and notes around the NFL is the running backs decided to have their own Council of Elrond and get together and talk about how they're so underappreciated and underpaid, led by guys like Saquon Barkley, who was offered $10, $12, $13 million, turned it down, and now is complaining about it.
Much like the Council of Elrond, there was a fellowship that had an overwhelming task to complete.
Yeah.
And unlike Frodo and Sam, they did not get that shit done.
Yeah.
So shockingly, I listened to a PFF podcast about this exact thing, and they made some points I had not considered, but I think make sense, make logical sense to me. So there were like 8 to 10 running backs on this Zoom call with somebody from the NFL or the Players Union or somebody. And they wanted to air these grievances about the fact that their market is so suppressed. What are you going to do for these guys? How are you going to...
And be fair and equitable.
Right. So, like, how are you going to convince an NFL front office to give these guys more money when their role, each year becomes less and less valuable unless you're catching the ball? Like, Jahmyr Gibbs one of the pros of Jahmyr Gibbs is he's a wide receiver that lines up in the backfield.
Yeah.
And you can hand it off or throw it to him, and he's going to be dangerous so long as you can get the ball in his hand, and he can do both things. Now, can he protect the passer? No, but that's not what they drafted him 12th overall.
Right.
So, like, he's bringing something to the NFL that people want out of their running back positions, which is versatility.
Okay.
One of the things that I think was super interesting about this call is that Christian McCaffrey was on it. Christian McCaffrey is like the highest paid running back in the NFL, or right at the top. He's the top paid running back on an average per year basis in the NFL, and this guy is on the call. I mean, what?
What do they expect to do? That's my question. And what can you do that is fair to everybody else? I've heard things like, oh, for running backs, their rookie contract shouldn't be 4 years guaranteed at this perfect structure with a 5th-year option. Running backs should be special because they don't last as long. So they should be 2 years guaranteed, and they should be able to test the open market earlier before they get all banged up. And then I go, well, that's not fair to literally anybody else.
Right. Which is why the NFLPA will never negotiate that into the collective bargaining agreement, is because it doesn't treat all players the same.
Right. And do you really want to have your quarterback, because you really do have to have everything the same. Do you really want your quarterback that you drafted number 1 overall to be able to test free agency in year 3?
Sure.
Because that's when you start getting paid the big bucks, right? You basically shrink that value, not supplemental value, but the help me out, Drew. That difference between their contract and what they would be on the open market. It's not supplemental, but it's close, good enough. But anyway, that like extra value that you're the surplus value of that rookie contract, you're basically going, oh, instead of 5 years, I'm going to only get 2 years of it. No team's going to want to do that.
No, they're not.
So what do you do?
There's nothing they can do. This solution to this problem is one that has not been considered and espoused by anyone who I've heard discuss this problem. Here's the problem with running backs not getting paid in the NFL. There are a lot of them. There is no demand for the service of running backs in the NFL. Almost none. Ezekiel Elliott.
It's not that we don't need them or don't want them. They're so generally even with what they do. Montgomery, Jamal Williams. Did either team get an upgrade or a downgrade? No, they're about the same. And when 90% or 95% of everybody playing that position is about the same as the others, you can't stand out. And therefore, everybody's value lowers.
Yeah. And it's not hard to acquire them.
Right. Because
you can pick them at any point in the draft. You can sign one in the free agent. You can pick them up off the street. And like, here's the thing, like up until this meeting, like you'd heard Saquon say things like, a reporter asked him, like, what kind of leverage do you think that you have in this situation? And he said, about the only leverage I think that I have is like telling my teammates, like, fuck you, or telling management, fuck you, or the Giants, like the same thing.
You need me, and I'm not going to do it unless you
and
do
like
this.
see what your team looks like with me out there. Well, they know that that's happened before. You've been hurt for a year, and they plug around. And so the Giants go out and they sign James Robinson, who was a UDFA, who had a 1,000-yard season for Jacksonville, who inexplicably got traded to the Jets last season so that the Jags could free up reps for Etienne. And then the Jets cut him because they got Breece Hall coming back. I mean, look, and James Robinson is a 1,000-yard rusher in a league that doesn't see a lot of 1,000-yard rushers on the open market being signed for the minimum. And 48 hours after he got signed, Saquon signed a new deal, a 1-year contract that the upside of what he got was $900,000 more in guarantees from 10.1, which was his franchise tender, to $11 million and $2 million in potential incentives, one of which is the Giants making the playoffs. Cool.
Right.
He signed,
and I believe he turned down a $13 million deal mid-season because he
So
wanted to. I don't know.
So what does he win? He wins, according to the people who are talking about the Zoom call, Saquon Barkley has won the right to get into free agency next year. Who cares?
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott has the same advantage right now. And what does that say?
Yeah. What he doesn't even have a team yet, does he?
No, he's working out. Like,
yeah.
did Dalvin Cook sign with the Dolphins, or is he still a free agent? I can't remember.
I haven't heard.
But like, there are people who are like this. I mean, like, this is the formula for NFL running back. You get drafted, you're going to play on your rookie deal, you're going to get tagged for 1 year, and then they're not going to sign you. They're just going to draft another guy again. You know, and so like, but here's the thing. If you are the most, like, going back all the way back down to like Pee Wee football, if you are the most athletic kid on your team, the position that you're playing is running back.
Yep.
So like, a lot of super athletic football players get pushed toward running back right off the bat because they're more athletic. And then they end up getting dispersed out amongst other position groups as they, grow up and play football more. And
because the running game is so much more important when you're younger, when you don't have the arm to throw the ball downfield. Right.
Right. So
I was looking for Dalvin Cook. The top one, I'm like, this is not it. Dalvin Cook offered ex-girlfriend $1 million to get rid of abuse claims.
So if he's not on a roster, that's not good.
Dalvin Cook believes he'll sign with AFC East team, denies Miami Dolphins have contract offer on the table for him. That's the latest and greatest. July 25th. That's today. So that was the latest thing I found for Cook.
So he's on the market.
Yep.
No one seems to be in a rush to sign these guys. Why is that? Well, because their running back stable is already set.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lions didn't go out and sign Ezekiel Elliott. They didn't go out and sign Dalvin Cook. They went out and signed Justin Jackson.
Yeah.
Because he was on the team last year and knows what they're doing.
So what do you think about a incentive-based rookie contract? Like, for the rookie wage scale, have it be incentive-based. Like, hey, for running backs, if you get X number of yards, X number of basic fantasy football, like how many rushes do you have? How many yards? How many catches? How many yards? How many touchdowns? How many games did you play? And just have it be the old Ricky Williams, you pay me what I produce, and have that be the rookie wage. You'd have to do that for each position. And for other positions, that's going to be harder. Think your right guard. Like, how do you do that with a right guard? But it's easier with your offensive skill positions, quarterback, wide receiver, running back. I'm not even sure how you do with tight end, because are you a blocking tight end? Are you a receiving tight end? I don't know. But like, what do you think about something along those lines? Could you even do that?
No. So the thing that I think, if you are a running back and you want to maximize the amount of money that you're making playing football, you need to stay in school longer and get NIL money.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah. I mean, like, okay, so like when we talk about most positions at the NFL level, we're talking about players almost always that have come from college who are developing into NFL talent, right? But with running backs, rookie running backs are productive. Like, then there was a chart that was put out by overthecap.com, who basically said, like, of the rushers who have run or received for 1,000 yards in the last 4 years, this is what their production looks like over their rookie contract. And it was, their first year was the second highest producing season that those guys had. The highest producing season was their second year. And then the chart goes straight down.
Yep.
So, like, effectively, your most productive years are your first and second years in the NFL for the best running backs at the position. So, like, the thing that I think that we don't look at when it comes to running backs is like we look at running backs like the way that we look at every other position in the NFL, which is that like if a quarterback comes into the NFL, the game has to slow down. And like you have to like work yourself into being whether or not you're going to be a good NFL quarterback. That's not the same thing for running backs. Like for running backs, it might be that your career is your last 2 years in college and your first 2 years in the NFL. And you should look at making money in that time span because you're almost as productive at 17 or 18 years old at being a running back as you are at 24. And like if the NFL is going to say we're going to chew you up and spit you out, all right, I'm going to be a legit 4-year senior at Texas or wherever. And then I'm going to go in the NFL, and then I'm going to transition into something else, broadcasting or
playing half the games, right?
Yeah. I'm going to
more money, half the games. Yep.
Big man on campus. Speaking of wear and tear, I saw this Twitter clip. Oh, I'm sorry. X clip.
X, yeah.
Or as they're apparently calling them now, Zeets. Not tweets. Zeets. XEET.
Yeah.
So of wide receiver for Seattle, not DK Metcalf, the other one. The number 2 in Seattle. I cannot remember his name. Anyways, it's just a clip of him catching the ball and then immediately going to the ground so he doesn't get hit. And everyone,
like every single one of those. Are you sure it wasn't Metcalf?
It's not Metcalf. It's the other guy. It's the number 2, the skinny guy that is almost as good
Tyler
as
Lockett.
Tyler Lockett. And it's Lockett just going to the ground repeatedly. Not even no one's touched him. He's just going to the ground.
I'm gonna get hit. Drop. Slide like a quarterback, baby.
Yeah, like first of all, go talk to Calvin Johnson about what it's like to get hit time after time after time. Like that documentary that he put out was like, I couldn't walk. Like my ankles were destroyed. And like my knees were bad because I'm 6'5", and everyone hits me between my knee and my hip. Like everyone in the comments was like, "Oh, you're a pussy. Oh, you're not tough. Oh, whatever." And I'm like, he's gonna play 3 more years than everybody else in this position because he's not getting hit. It's so smart. Who wants to get hit by some DB coming in like a missile? Not me. Of course, I don't play in the NFL. Shockingly.
Yeah.
So, but there's nothing you can do for running backs.
Yeah. There's
no way that you can treat them differently in relation to every other position group that's in the NFL. And therefore, like you can't adjust their pay scale just because they don't think it's fair, right? That's what we're talking about here. Is that like there's millions upon billions of dollars at stake because it's the NFL, and they want a bigger piece of it. Well, my recommendation is either stay in college longer or change positions. Become a linebacker, become a DB, become a slot receiver. But don't be a running back.
Or just become a little bit more versatile. Become a CMC type of player.
If people could become Christian McCaffrey, they would.
That's fair.
Right. And it's not that Christian McCaffrey is not valued in the NFL. Like the 49ers valued Christian McCaffrey enough to trade for him when they had a stable of running backs already. So they clearly valued something that he did more than what they already had on their team. And the thing that he does better than almost every other running back in the NFL is catch the ball. So, but that's not going away. And like I agree, like it's not that they're not unvaluable. It's that there's zero demand.
Yeah.
And there's zero demand because the supply is so high. So if you want to increase your supply side economics or whatever, which is the wrong term for what this is, you either got to stay in college where you might make more per year than you do in the NFL, especially on a rookie deal, depending on where you get drafted. Because unless you're picked at 12, you're not making millions of dollars a year.
Right.
Change positions. And then who's going to want to invest in you because they don't know what you are at that position.
Yeah.
So like I follow to take this back to Michigan, like I follow Michigan football quite a lot, and every spring there's a wide receiver that becomes a DB, there's a tight end that becomes a defensive end, and there's a linebacker there's a running back that becomes a linebacker. Something like that, and like they will convert people to other positions. And if the NFL,
because they've got raw athletic talent, so you can kind of put them anywhere. They just need to learn it then.
Right. No one wants to take that. They want that to be done or just about done by the time that you get to the NFL.
And all of this is reasons why we don't want to have a fullback anymore, right?
Oh, I mean, I love Jason Kabinda. He seems like a really cool dude, but there's no reason for him to be on the roster. I mean, in a football sense. Sorry. I mean,
we're the only fullback in the league, right? Aren't we the only one to carry a fullback?
Kyle Juszczyk from San Francisco is technically a fullback.
Oh,
but they just don't use him like one.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was thinking that we were the only team that had a fullback still, and maybe not. Maybe I'm misremembering.
I mean, I had fun watching Corey Schlesinger when I was a kid.
He was a beast.
But I don't want Corey Schlesinger on my team now.
I would rather just line up Penei Sewell there and let him bowl somebody over for the extra couple yards.
Yeah, 100%. So, one other Lions note, real quick: the Washington Commanders, who I cannot wait for them to change their name.
Didn't Magic Johnson buy them?
He is a minority stakeholder in the group that did buy them. The guy that did buy them, his name is Josh somebody. Can't remember.
Josh doesn't sound like a billionaire's name.
I know.
No offense to all you billionaire Joshes out there. I wouldn't have guessed his name was Josh.
He did pay $6.05 billion for the team.
So there's got to be at least one billionaire Josh out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, they cut at right guard. Andrew Norwell, I think his name is. And unless Andrew Norwell wants to retire from football, the Lions should look at him if they don't think that Vaitai is ready to go for the start of the camp. And Norwell can either come in and compete with Glasgow and for starter minutes, or he can have the starter spot. I don't think that he's been in the NFL 15 years or anything. So I think that you bring him in for a workout and see if he's hurt or wants to play still or whatever, if Vaitai's not ready to go. And then somebody in the chat, maybe it was Funky, maybe it was Dr. Detroit, said they weren't sure about Onwuzurike.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but if you said to me, you're going to draft a guy, he's going to play, he's going to look like a rookie, he misses his second year due to injury, and then he's ready to go year 3, wouldn't that be something that you would be hopeful about? So,
I mean, he didn't play terribly.
As a rookie, no. He didn't play great either. But he got hurt. He is not starting the season on the PUP list. So they are going to work him back into shape and to see what he looks like. And I got to tell you, that would be awesome if he was just a serviceable defensive tackle that you could just rotate in.
Right.
If he just gets back to he's not going to be a liability when he's on the field. Banners, confetti, parades. I mean, yeah. So it's just the back, you're worried because of the nature of his injury, right? It's the nature of his injury means that if he were to get hurt again,
it could be longer term.
It could be career ending, right? Backs are the new ACL, or Achilles tendon or whatever. We're really good at fixing.
Just ask Matt Stafford.
Yeah, exactly.
Twice, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, I did find it. Josh Harris and Mitchell Rales were the two main people. Rales is a co-founder of a DC-based science and tech firm, the Danaher Corp. And Harris apparently also owns the 76ers and the New Jersey Devils. And they have a combined net worth of $11 billion.
That's awesome.
So there are billionaire Joshes out there.
Look at that. Now, here's something I think that we should get. Here's a question that we get the chat involved with.
All right, let's bring it.
So let me run a Google search real quickly. Let's see here.
We have awkward dead air as he's Googling away.
Yes, sorry about that. So
but I can fill it with jokes. So
we can fill it with jokes. So there were some options that like Vegas had on what the Commanders should change their name to. And I'm trying to find it right now. Because I thought that some of the names were like really good and other ones were just absolutely atrocious. But like, here are some odds. Spartans.
I mean, go green, but no.
Right. Here's literally my favorite, no joke. The Red Hogs.
So the high school I went to in Marshall, Michigan was the Redskins back when I was there. They have since changed to the Red Hawks. So I wouldn't be opposed to that either.
The other name that I think that they could go to that I would just be on board with is Wolves, which I saw floated back when they announced their name change from the Redskins.
The what?
The Red Wolves. So you're just throwing red because that's the team color, right? In front of insert animal name. You know, to be honest, like if it was like the Red Cows, I'd be like, okay. It's interesting. But like if you had a chance, say either you or I or anybody in the chat had their own football team, right? Professional football team. You're based in Washington, D.C. What's the name that you're putting on your jerseys? What's your mascot? The thing that's going to rally around?
The Washington Lobbyists. It strikes fear in the heart of both sides of the aisle.
It sure does. That lobby money is legit. But in all seriousness, Mike, if you owned the Washington football team, what would you call them?
That's a great question. I really don't like the Commanders.
I don't either.
As a name. The hockey team has the Capitals, being the capital. I think that's cool. Man, I don't know.
And you can't use lightning sharks.
Lightning sharks, yeah.
Which is a great question. The Big Bang
I haven't seen anybody in the chat yet throw out any ideas for me to steal.
They're cooking dinner or something. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. You know what? Let's do this. Let's see what ChatGPT tells us.
Yeah. Hey, why not? I know mine. If I owned Washington, I would call them the Red Wolves.
The Red Wolves? Yeah.
Oh, Funky says I miss the Washington Bullets, the old basketball team name. Of course, there's a good reason why they switched from that name as well.
New football team name, Washington.
Really good on-screen product while Mike taps into ChatGPT.
All right.
The Washington Chickens from Mark seems like a serious suggestion. Maybe if it was the Red Chickens, Mark.
Warriors, the Senators.
Okay. Washington Warriors has a nice. Well, the Senators is a hockey team, and Ottawa Senators.
Ottawa, yes, but not Detroit, not in Washington.
I like the allegory from Washington Warriors. I do like the Hogs.
Renegades.
Ooh, so they kind of were. You know, you could make the case like, hey, we were kind of renegades from like a British point of view, you know, that kind of thing. Like, and now it's our capital. That's it. 4 suggestions. Funky's got the Washington PCs. I'm assuming for political correctness. Well done, Funky.
Let me regenerate again. Red Tails.
Okay. Seemed very good.
Yeah. I think of all, I like the Renegades. I think you've got some mascot flexibility and options there as well.
I'm gonna throw kind of a nerdy one out there. What about the Paladins?
Washington Paladins?
So a paladin's kind of like a holy warrior from Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
I just think that like a dude in like a suit of armor with like a sword or a spear or something, like in those colors.
What about a Rogues? The Washington Rogues.
Washington Rogues. I think that this is as justifiable as the Paladins.
Well, I mean, if you're trying to stay away from any religious connotations where the Paladin might be
Sure.
have some of that, the Rogues clearly go away from the whole religious connotation side of things.
Funky says
I like Red Wolves. I like Renegades. The Washington Wokes.
A team would have to be all in on one particular philosophy in order to name themselves that, I think. Although, once again, I like the allegory. So, maybe it's not as easy to name a franchise as we think it is. Maybe that's why.
In fairness, we've spent 3 minutes and 17 seconds on it. So I think if we put some time, we can get some good options.
It seems about as much as the Commanders.
That's fair. That's fair. I think of the ones that I like the Bullets, but Red Wolves, Renegades.
I like
Washington
Warriors.
Hogs doesn't flow very well to me.
I don't think the Washington Feral Pigs.
The Washington Wild Boars.
Wild Boars, yeah. I like Warriors. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't like Spartans, but that's mainly because I hate Michigan State.
If the team was in Sparta, that'd be different.
Yeah, it would be different. Yeah, there would be a lot more linkage.
Or we could do like the Simpsons thing, where it's the Washingtonians, right?
Yeah, there you go. I like that. That sounds good. So, I think that's about enough time spent on Washington's name change. So outside of the name, everything else is the same about, I don't know if you can tell, we still have the Casual GM podcast logo up in the upper right-hand corner.
Oh, we do. I gotta fix that.
You gotta fix that.
Note to self, future me, take care of that podcast.
We're always going to be here Tuesdays at 7 Eastern. Like, comment, and subscribe. We got to get back up to 78. Washington Boars doesn't sound too bad. Yeah, because not only could it be a vicious animal, but also when you go to Washington, you don't expect those people to entertain you much at all. So that could work fine, I think. So this is episode 1, Building the Pride. But we have a special announcement that Mike was going to tell you guys about right now. So,
we are
yep.
Discord, right?
Yep.
All right, yeah, we've got a Discord server that we will probably next time we'll probably throw the link out in the chat. Where I don't think we're 100% ready, but we will get that out there for anybody to join. Be focused on primarily Lions stuff, but we may end up having a channel for non-Lions team news and that kind of stuff. And yeah, that'll be fun to kind of build a community around that. And if you have any ideas, throw things in the chat. Once we get the Discord link out there, feel free to pop in and throw other ideas for channels or things to do as a fan base and community. And then I think we'll probably try to put together a fantasy football league as well. That'll be fun. We've been wanting to do that, and we're just like, we don't get enough people. I don't have enough people at work that are interested in that. And I happen to know a lot of Lions fans that might be interested in joining it. So
yeah. So I would be extremely interested to do a fantasy football league with you and the people in the chat if that was something that they wanted to do or whatever. And I do like the idea of a Discord channel, especially as it relates to Detroit Lions news and notes, and like come and build with us,
Right on. Yeah, so we'll start the next episode with providing that link out there, and then whatever happens next. Is there anything going on between now and then, like football wise, Lions wise?
So I mean, I know we can do like training camp, OTAs, mandatory stuff, but for me, the things that I don't want to hear are player X was hurt.
Thank God,
until we get to the preseason, which should be 4 or 5 weeks away.
About that, yep.
So yeah, to
Just
me,
curiosity, anybody actually going to watch Hard Knocks with Karen Rodgers, or did I just like turn everybody off the idea of having to watch him?
Oh, this is one thing that we might want to talk about more. So like, not only did the NFL have a hard time finding a team to sign up for Hard Knocks this season, but Netflix has a very popular show now called The Quarterback.
Quarterbacks, yeah.
It's really popular enough they want to do a season 2, and you know what? No one wants to be on it.
Yeah. Stafford was asked and turned down season 1.
Right.
He said, well, he had an injury. He didn't want to be made public and stuff. And he's like, I'm going to let them figure things out. He's like, I don't want cameras in bugging, my teammates and all that kind of stuff. I've got an injury I don't want people to know about. And I'll just let them figure out all the loopholes and like all the bad things in season 1 so they can be fixed later, and maybe I'll consider it down the road.
Right.
But I've enjoyed it. I think I've got like 1 or 2 episodes left, and it's been really good. I don't dislike Patrick Mahomes' wife as much as I thought I would based on her social media presence. And Jackson hasn't made an appearance at all, so I don't know if I dislike him or not.
I don't have any problem with his wife. His brother seems like an attention whore, so I'm usually not a huge fan of that. I said from my own podcast, so you gotta kind of call it. But like, I agree with Dr. Detroit. He says, yes, I want to watch that bitch cry like the bitch he is. And like, even if you said that without context, I know you would be talking about Aaron Rodgers, because he's the biggest bitch in sports. So can't stand him. He's just ridiculous. So, all right.
But not in a libelous way, right? So
whatever way people want to accept it, I think is accurate.
Yeah.
Bitch. So,
all right.
Yeah. So that's our very first episode of the Building the Pride podcast, brought to you by ChatGPT. So we're going to be back 1 week from today, Tuesdays at 7. We hope that you guys will join us. If you have anything you'd like to bring up, have us talk about, ask us a question of, feel free to leave a comment on the YouTube page, and we will make sure to discuss it in the next episode.
Love it. All right. Well, we'll catch you guys in 6 days, 23 hours ish. And until then, have a fantastic week, all.
Yep. See you guys.
All right, peace.